All right, I'm going to face this cabinet or this wall with some teak and with some cubbies set inside that have some shelf holes. So I'm going to cut all the pieces on the CNC machine, and this is how it starts. I make my site dimensions, and from there I'll take it and I'll put it into Solidworks. Now Solidworks is good for this for me because I'm fairly comfortable with drafting or creating my two-dimensional drawings, and also there's an adjacent cabinet to what was shown there in the picture that I am figuring it out as I go, to see how large to make the opening and how it's going to fit with actually the front of the cabinet. So here, this is the wall that you saw in the picture once we started up, and I'm going to face some things. I'm going to face with some 1/4-inch teak, and there's a piece of steel trim that's going to go over stuff. So I have some setbacks. It's already calculated, and I know what my dimensions are. So that's all I'm doing here is taking those dimensions and creating a kind of a template. On that template, and this is in the same SolidWorks part, I can go in, which is what I'm doing now, is I'm tracing around the different parts of the template. And I'm doing this so that I have a solid piece that further on down the line I can trace that and get my DXF. That, for example, I can cut that piece out on the CNC machine. But in order to do that with all of these other pieces, it's nice to have a base drawing, which was the dotted line. In case I want to change something, I go back to that dotted line, I change the dimensions, and everything here then would update. So that's pretty much that. I'm going to move on to the side cabinet and working with the hard dimensions that I took from the site, the lengths and the angles. And there's room to adjust the angle and the lengths a little bit. That will all kind of come together as I put it together. But using SolidWorks to create a 3D model to give me kind of an idea of how best to put this together. There are a few things happening that I needed to figure out, and that was how to set in the cubby into this side cabinet, how to build it. Do I build it one panel at a time? Do I build it, in a big box with the cubby attached to it? So I decided to just make a panel right now, and then create that part there that I'm working on is going to become a face frame, a solid teak face frame, and that will fit into an interior cabinet box that will clear the cubby. It makes more sense to do it than to speak about it, but I'm doing my best here. So going on with just building out the components of this, I created all of the side panels are going to be the same length, and I didn't need to create one side panel for each one. I can create just one panel, and there's also going to be a outlet in each of these cubbies, so I can in the next program that I'm using, Millwrite, I'll be able to mirror the geometry and remove geometry. And this is how you bring in your pieces here. I'm sorry, I'm going back to what's happening on the screen here. You mirror your pieces and you constrain those parts to other parts. And this is the really cool thing about this, is that if I were to change that opening, if I were to go back to that that original draft, the drawing with the dotted lines, the first drawing I made, and move and create that opening in a different size, all of these parts that are constrained to the opening would also change. And that comes in very handy when you know when you start that you're going to be adjusting things. You set up a template and then you just start playing around with it. So once I had the parts created, 1, 2, 3 parts, plus the sides and the tops, the inlet, I created a drawing to real world scale. I think I made this 16 feet by 16 feet. Go into the options, change the dimension size so that I can kind of verify how I have it oriented for importing it into Millwrite. And just have to check the scale. Here I knocked the scale down, which you'll see in Millwrite I had to bump it back up. So this is something I have to kind of figure out later. But for now I just create a drawing, bring all my parts in, make sure they're all correct relative to each other. And as you can see, I want to know which way is the top, which is the bottom. Had to check out the size, and I didn't realize, there we go, get the top view, not the side view. And so there are my parts. Getting rid of the crosshairs here, it's a lot easier than doing it in Millwrite. You can actually select all of these with a rectangular or with a marquee, which I didn't do there, but so I'm bringing it into Millwrite here. This is a great little CAM program, and that is the geometry, creating something to represent a piece of plywood there, locating my pieces onto the my quote piece of plywood, and figuring out the best way to lay these out on these pieces on a piece of plywood. Just like, oh hey, look at how smart I am, I can put all these here and save all this extra space, until I realized that I wanted the grain to go in the direction of the I wanted the grain to go in a different direction than I have it laid out here. So right now the grain would be going, as you're looking at it on the screen, left to right, and of course I wanted the grain on those to be going left to right as well. Up, and right now it would just but it's easy enough to change. There we go. Hey, look at that, I figured it out. So this is the CAM program. So I have 4 things or 3 things going on here. 1, drilling the shelf holes. 2, cutting on the inside of the cutouts, the cover or the remodel box holes, the cubby holes, and the third one is the cutting the outline of the product or the pieces. So I create 3 separate layers, 1 for each, and it's a lot easier to get in and select and assign the attributes, what you want it to do, what you want your tool to do, which tool is going to do it. So there's the tool, tool number 1, which was for the drill points, and tool number 2 is going to be the cutter, which is a 1/4 inch bit, and that's contouring it on the inside, and then the green is the contouring on the outside. And that's pretty much the gist of the CAM. Once you know where the things are, once you know what you want it to do, it's this program is a great program. I think it's a fairly inexpensive program. You're not stuck with a subscription, and that's it. Gives you your G code and ready to go.